We'll start the General Committee meeting on Monday the 11th of August. In accordance with the Local Government Act 1993, Cowra Council is recording General Committee and Council meetings. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be uploaded on Tuesday morning. By speaking at these meetings, you agree to being recorded. Please ensure that when you speak at this meeting that you ensure you are respectful to others and use appropriate language at all times. Cowra Council accepts no liability for any defamatory or offensive remarks or gestures made during the course of this meeting. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land on which we gather, the Wiradjuri people, and pay our respects to elders past, present and emerging. We have apologies from Councillor Fagan and Councillor Watt. Obviously no others because we're all here. Would someone like to move that they be accepted? Councillor Speechley and Councillor Horton. Thank you very much. All those in favour? Thank you. Councillors and staff, please indicate in relation to any interest you need to declare, what report or item you are declaring an interest in, whether the interest is pecuniary or non-pecuniary, and what is the nature of the interest. Very good. None of that. There are no public presentations. There are no members of the public who have registered with the General Manager's office to speak on the item in the agenda. So I'll go to item 2. Confirmation of the minutes of the General Committee meeting held on the 14th of July 2025. Thank you, Councillor Horton. Councillor Kiss, thank you. Councillor Horton.
Put it to you that these are the minutes of the meeting that we had on the 14th of July. Thank you.
Councillor Kiss. Anyone else like to comment? Councillor Horton, right a reply?
Not required, thank you.
Thank you. All those in favour? Thank you. Passed. 3.1 is organisation structure. It's on page 21 of your iPads. Can I have a mover? Councillor Kiss. Councillor Wright, thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, this is just a legislative provision that the council needs to review the organisation structure within 12 months of any council election, which means we're required to assess the directorates within council. We currently have 3 directorates, obviously the environmental services, corporate services and infrastructure and operations in no particular order, I might add. But as it mentions in this report, the current structure is working well, serving the community well, and I see no reason not to endorse the continuation of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wright.
Yeah, it's obvious that the General Manager feels that the current structure is has been adequate, and from what we've seen in our annual reports, the system seems to operate well enough to get done what we have got to do. The biggest problem we have is finding some senior staff when people leave and that to or have a succession plan to take over in different operation roles, but it doesn't matter what sort of structure you have, you would still suffer from that. We do seem to be a bit more organised than some, because I was talking to a council officer from it was Tamworth or Gunnedah at the Salyards conference, and she's got Salyards on her thing, but she's also got the art gallery and a couple other things and everything. It's sort of a bit of a mix mash of operations in the different fields, but she was quite confident it operates well and it gives her a bit of different interests on what's happening. But anyway, we wish the staff all the best in getting the job done.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment? Obviously, it's not broken. Councillor Kiss, write a reply. I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Thank you. Passed. 4.1, donation Cowra High School for the 2025 School Spectacular. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Downing, thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And another year of School Spectacular. Pretty exciting. We look forward to it every year. This request is from Cowra High School. And for a donation request of $2,000, which is for 12 students to attend. And I commend the students and the teachers, not only for their fundraising efforts, which they're really going to need to put together, but the incredible efforts they would have taken to achieve this standard of performance to begin with. The total estimated cost is $25,000. Unfortunately, these sort of events are just incredibly expensive, but I wish them well, not only in their fundraising efforts, but also hope to hear a bit more about how they go at their school spectacular. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Downing.
Yes, just to agree with Councillor Kiss and say that the School Spectacular is recognised as an iconic cultural event incorporating students from diverse backgrounds and communities from all over New South Wales. So it's incredible that we get to send our schools along to participate and wish them luck, and hopefully they have a great time.
Anyone else like to comment? Obviously, it's a thing we do every year, and I wish them well, same as everyone else. Councillor Kiss, right a reply? Put the motion. All those in favour? Pass. Thank you. 4.2, donation to the Noel Collett Legacy Koori Knockout of 2025. Councillor Horton and Kiss, thank you. Councillor Horton.
Yes, another one of those that potentially come under the category of things we do every 12 months or so. We have had conversations in the past. I think it's great that we offer support to different groups as well. So it's good to see Noel Collett Legacy put their hand up for some assistance. $1,500 is very modest in terms of assistance. And this is a terrific, as it says in the papers, a terrific event. Significant numbers of people getting together for this event. It's centred around sport, of course, but there's cultural benefit as well. So very happy to support the request. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And as Councillor Horton has said, this is an important event for us to be supporting. And yes, it's football, but it very much evolves around the culture. I think that's really where the greatest value is, to be perfectly honest. And $1,500, that's that's quite a good donation, and I have no problem with that whatsoever. I will just note though, when we were allocating our long-term financial plans, and my fellow councillors might remember, I did mention at that time that perhaps we should be allocating a general Koori Knockout specific line item out of our section 356 budget, but at the time, and understandably, we chose just to have it all as All Blacks. And of course, it's not to say anything is not worthwhile. That's not the case whatsoever. But I think it's something that we need to be mindful of going forward, because if we do have that as a separate line item, and then we do end up with again Noel Collett Legacy. Potentially we could have Galari Bloodlines. There could be other sorts of sports that are all attending the Koori Knockout. And that could significantly eat into our Section 356 budget. So I just think going forward we need to be mindful of these sort of things and say how much overall would we want to be spending on the Koori Knockout, so that other areas of our community don't miss out as well. But in itself, I think this is a very worthwhile cause and huge cultural advantages from it. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to comment? Councillor Wright.
Yeah, question. Is this different to the one we provided funds for the one at Bathurst, I think, last year, or a similar event?
Different.
Different.
I can shed some light on that. The annual Koori Knockout will be in Tamworth this year. This is not that knockout. This is the Sydney Regional Knockout. Totally different thing altogether, and I agree with Councillor Kiss that, and Councillor Horton, that football is the conduit, but this is a cultural gathering, getting together, mixing of their peoples, and I think we have to keep that in mind, that's what it is. I would ask the question, I've not heard of the Noel Collett Legacy, I've no idea who they are, and my question would be, are they Cowra players? I've got no idea. So I would like a little bit more information if we could get that. But $1,500 is not going to kill us one way or the other. I think that's fine. But I would just query as to make sure that they're Cowra players that are in this particular side, because I've not heard of this side. The Ramby All Blacks we've all heard of for a long time, and they're a known institution. This one is new, and I just wonder if we could have some details as to who it is and what it is. Councillor Downing?
Yeah,
Councillor Downing, yeah.
My understanding is that May Collett would be his mother or his wife, I'm not sure. The Collett family have played rugby league, especially junior rugby league, with my boys for a long time and before that as well. So they are a rugby league family. And I think that the cultural benefits of going to these kind of things for our local Indigenous community nearly almost outweigh the sport, as everyone has said. But sport is a thing that brings us all together, and there's a huge Indigenous community who follow NRL and rugby league and play. So yeah, I'm happy to give them the $1,500. The whole tournament is going to cost $9, so that's only a small amount of what they're expecting to raise, and they're having other fundraising events and stuff. So I'm happy to support it.
Anyone else like to comment? Councillor Wright?
yeah. No, I support this. I would have thought they would be Cowra orientated if they've come to us to ask for a donation. As Councillor Downing said, Collett is a name of in the Cowra community. It said, yeah, it's been mentioned that it's good for football and culture and all that, but sport and that also develops hand-eye coordination, which develops other educational learning faculties, and I think this is good. They can get together with their own people and develop what their culture is, and have a better understanding. And we can, if we can only help them do that, we might be able to. They might hopefully develop more self-confidence that to go ahead in the future, which I no doubt they will do something in the future. And it's not just a sporting thing. I think there's a lot more going in. You get a lot more benefit out of it than just by playing sport. Thank you.
Anyone else like to comment? Write a reply, Councillor Horton.
Not required, thank you.
I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Passed, thank you. Item 4.3, investments and financial report. Councillor Kiss, thank you. I'll second it, thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is our July investments and financial report. Funds are well invested, and according to the regulations, interest rates are slowly reducing, and therefore obviously reducing our interest received, but our average interest rate is greater than average market rates. And just looking at our rate recovery on chart 9, page 36, we're well in the middle of where we have been the last few years, so it looks like we're quite on track for our rate recovery, which is important because financial sustainability is critical. Thank you.
As a second, I'd just like to say, yes, I've noticed the rates are coming there. A fraction, it's only a little fraction better than they were last year, so that's all positive. I note that we're averaging 4.49 as a percentage on our deposits, which is quite healthy. Goodness knows what will happen tomorrow, whether interest rates go up, down or sideways. But at this point in time, we're doing quite well with our deposits. So as Councillor Kiss says, it's very nice to be financial as long as we keep it that way. Would anyone else like to comment? Write a reply, Councillor Kiss. Put the motion. All those in favour? Pass, thank you. Item 5, development application number 10.2025.591. Lot 20, Section 9, DP 977420, being 59A Kite Street, Cowra, a multi-dwelling housing, 4 attached dwellings, lodged by M. Pullen. The property owner is Jackie Childs Proprietary Limited. Councillor Horton, thank you. Councillor Downing, thank you. Councillor Horton?
Thank you. So, throughout our conversations around the housing strategy, we talked a lot about the need to increase the mix and the variation in our housing stock, and this is a really good example, I think, of being able to do that. You've got an unused, undeveloped piece of land that's a largely flat, so there's minimal work that needs to be done there. Where the reason it's coming to council is because there's some variations with respect to the average site area per dwelling. That's because they're wanting to make this one block house four dwellings. They're under the one roof line, so I think it's a really effective use of space. Each of the dwellings still has their own personal open space as well, so they've still got their own little yard if they want their own little yard. Time, place and situation, right? So this is not the type of development that is going to be interesting to everyone, but for those that are potentially looking to downsize, a single person who's maybe only in town for a shorter period of time working on a particular project, they don't necessarily want a 4-bedroom house on 5 acres. Other pluses for this one, I think, for me, is being in town. It's already got roads, it's already got power running to it. The services are all taken care of to it, so we're not having to do any infrastructure from that perspective. The other reason it's coming to us, I think, is because there's one of the parking spaces is slightly forward of the building line, but it's minimal and really I don't think is going to have any sort of negative impact on the streetscape or the aesthetic. So I think for the amount of land that they've got, they're trying to maximise what they can do with that piece of land. And like I said, I think it adds to the mix of housing that's available, housing stock that's available in town. Thank you.
Councillor Downing?
I'd agree with everything Councillor Horton said. And yes, all the parking spaces that they need to have are accounted for. They're just the one that's before the building line, which I don't think is going to make any difference either. I'd just like to say that this is a really good use of this block. This block's been vacant since the 1980s when the house burnt down there. So it's really, yeah, don't ask me which year, that 80. But yeah, it's been vacant since then. So it's going to be a really good use of that land, and it's nice to see something going on there.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Horton?
No, not required, thank you.
I'll put the motion to DA people. All those in favour? Passed unanimous, thank you. 5.3. Can't read. 5.2, development application number 102024.11.1, lot 9 and 10, DP 1096603, being 11 to 13 Collis Drive, Cowra, for 64 self-storage units lodged by BJ Wilkinson. The property owner is BJ and NA Wilkinson. Councillor Kiss, thank you. Councillor Horton, thank you. Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, this DA is for 64 self-storage units over in Collis Drive, and honestly, I wouldn't have thought that we'd need that many, but it's a great thing that we do. Look, it's come to us because there is an adjustment on the front setback, as well as a reduced number of car parking spaces. The car parking spaces, straight out, look, I can say I'm quite satisfied that it's been reduced and it's not going to have any effect. And that's simply because, as it mentions in the report, people are going to park outside, directly outside of their unit as they load and they unload. So it's going to have different needs to someone that was going to be parking there longer term. I think that's quite well justified. Setback issue. Look, it does say in there that it's not going to make any difference. I don't know that I'd go quite that far. You know, our DCP says an adherence of 8 metres from the front setback. And if they do that, obviously there's going to be less storage units. And they say that if by reducing it, it's that it's actually not going to make any difference at all. Look, one of the things that I like about our Collis Drive industrial area is the space. You know, I like the fact that it's well landscaped. It's got beautiful, aesthetically pleasing industrial buildings there, but it actually looks really amazing. So for me, even though it will be a slightly reduced setback and therefore less landscaping as well, it's not a matter of saying it's not going to make any difference, but is it worthwhile knocking it back simply because of that? This is such a great project that's going to have huge benefits for our town. I don't want to go saying that it's going to be okay just because that's what the other buildings do, because I don't think that we should necessarily be setting precedents. You know, I don't think that because the next one does, then therefore it makes no difference. And DCP is there for a reason. But overall, look, I think there's just way too many advantages to outweigh the concern of reducing the front setback. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Kiss. Councillor Horton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So just to pick up on what Mr. Kiss was talking about there, with respect to, and agree, wherever we can have setbacks and landscaping, it's obviously going to be more aesthetically pleasing. But if you remember with this reduction for the setback, it's only one section, so that storage units are going to be built in rows. There's only actually one row that'll have that smaller setback, and they're still going to be incorporating that 4.6 metres for perimeter landscaping area. So they're still going to do the landscape, it'll just be the distance between the landscape and that one row of storage. So it's not the whole development that will be 4.6. The 4.6 is just the short other part. And the reason for that, again, you know, similar to the previous one, trying to make best use of the available space they have, but they're constrained to that by some easement stormwater and security. So they can't go any further back, so maximum the yield.
No one knows.
But we can still get the perimeter landscaping stuff, and yet keep that one row that's 4.6 metres. So I agree. I don't think that's a reason to block it. Thank you.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to comment? Councillor Wright.
Through the chair, I'd have to would like to double check that and get back to you. I would think that there would be some form of Section 94 contributions that would be applicable to industrial development. So, if you like, I can get back to you.
No, I just appreciate that. I looked a couple of times, and it's generally in the conditions, and the things can't start until they've identified where the sewerage and water mains are. Are they not clear on the block, or because it's only a new subdivision? Is that to work out where they put the footings and how they don't cause a problem to those mains? Is it?
Very strange. And then check that where they're proposing to put any footings and that are not within a zone of influence of the infrastructure.
Yeah, because there's mentioned a retaining wall. So is that on the area between the north side and the south side of the elders building or whatever it is that's there?
I could be wrong, but I think there's a retention basin between the two, isn't there? Yep. 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 Government would call them a dam. They tax us on those.
there's a drainage easement that it would have to connect into and then feed in from there. We would be asking for detailed drainage diagrams prior to the issue of a CC.
That's good. They seem to be the second most popular thing after a 3-bedroom house is storage sheds, and they are. And there's a shortage in Cowra, from what I've been led to believe. There's a waiting list for them. And I know one Cowra developer has got 700 in Young and one over 700 in Young and one just in one area. So it's a big business, and if people want to use them, well, they've got to build them somewhere, and it'll go close to filling up that that little cul-de-sac. Thank you.
The General Manager.
Yeah, that's what I thought must have been, that the person that created the existing lots, they paid it. That's good. I should read it more thoroughly. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment? Right, a reply, Councillor Horton. No, Councillor Kiss. Not needed. To DA people, all those in favour? Passed. Thank you very much. 5.3, modification to Council's Access Incentive Scheme Grant Funding Guidelines. Councillor Kiss. Councillor Downing. Thank you, Councillor Kiss.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, we have a access incentive scheme grant, which has been very well utilised. But as with anything, you know, our policies need to be updated, modified just to reflect the current needs. And this one's no different. My take on this mainly is as a reminder that this is actually called an access incentive scheme grant. And I think in some instances when claims have been put in, and rightly so, because, you know, our policy wasn't reflecting it correctly at the time or as accurately as it could have been, is that the applications weren't necessarily directed towards something that might have been a bit of an incentive thing. Now, for instance, you know, when we're considering, and the original intention of this was to assist owners with older buildings that didn't necessarily need to meet the current guidelines, because at the time they were built, they simply didn't comply, and it was only if they had major modifications done and so forth that they would have to be then brought up to standard. So that left a lot of these older buildings inaccessible. So whether it was because they had steps or their doorways weren't wide enough, or they could have done with having some railings. So it was as an incentive to the owners of the properties or to the lessees of the properties to say, all right, it's going to be that little bit of investment. You know, I can put a ramp on the outside of my hotel to allow patrons to continue coming when they're in a wheelchair, even if they've got too many stairs up the front. And we're looking at bang for our buck too, basically. You know, we're looking to say, well, is council's contribution going to make a significant difference? Will it mean the difference between it happening or it not happening? And that's where I believe council really had its intention to begin with as an incentive. So we're not looking at things like, you know, a brand new build where it actually has to already been designed and created to comply. It's a very different story. Or modifications that are worth potentially hundreds of thousands of dollars, where our $10,000 would be just a drop in the ocean and really isn't going to have much impact. That same $10,000 could be going towards railings or even hand basin, you know, tap adjustments and things like that. Things that will really make a difference to those other properties, the mum and dad businesses, things like that. So for me, what I see these modifications in the policy doing is really bringing it back to those basics to say, look, this is actually an incentive fund. It's not just because you have a building that's going to be made to standard, well, therefore you're entitled to the $10,000. It's to say, We have this here. If you really want to make a go of it with your older building, we're willing to try to give you a bit of a help to do that, to go over and above. Thank you.
Councillor Downing?
Yes, as the person who pushed for the upping of the $10,000 in the last council term and was supported by everyone in the room pretty much, I'm happy that these modifications are happening. We hadn't looked at this policy for a really long time when we saw it last time, and it's nice to see it coming back. And it's because that we've made people aware, we've upped it, we've made it worth your while to apply for, maybe because retrofitting costs so much these days and building anything costs a lot of money. And we've had more people wanting to access the money, which is great. But now we've figured out we just need some more rules around that just to make it work better the way that we hoped it would in the first place. So I'm more than happy with the changes, happy to put it out to the public and have any feedback that they'd like to give us as well. So yeah, I'll support that.
Thank you. Anyone else like to comment? I'd just like to say that I agree with Councillor Kiss that this fund that we have was designed to bring existing buildings that don't comply up into compliance. New buildings must comply or we wouldn't pass the DA. So you would like to think that as time goes on, there'd be less and less people eligible to apply for this because bit by bit they've all been brought up. So hopefully long term there's no need for this. But in the meantime, we've changed the rules, tightened things up a little bit, made it clearer for everybody, and I think it's a positive step. Councillor Kiss, right, a reply. Put the motion. All those in favour? Pass. Thanks very much. There's no late reports, no notice of motions. Does anyone have a urgent motion without notice? In that case, there are no confidential matters. I declare the meeting closed at 6:02. Thank you very much.